This is the Fantasy Football Game Plan, where we talk about fantasy football and the NFL.
So
Okay.
I think we're talking about wide receiver ranking.
Yeah, we're back. We've changed our hats.
New day.
And our clothing, new day. And we're
Yep.
looking at receivers now.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that since Rodgers has returned, everybody's just totally down with Devontae Adams being the best guy. So
I had them as my duo last year, and they did me all right.
yeah, Diggs and Rodgers together. Or sorry, Adams and Rodgers together. You
Yeah.
said them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was picking I think I was picking pretty like low down the pole. So I went for a wide receiver instead of a running back. I think for my number 2 pick or something. Forget what order I drafted it in, but I think I picked up Chubb in the first round, and then I came back with like 2 picks later or 3 picks later with Adams.
Well,
So that was a good combo.
Yeah, Adams is in a contract year, so he's motivated. They're trying to win it all this year and then get traded away or something. They've got their high five on social media and last dance implications and all that. So I guess he's highly motivated to put up big numbers this year, and that's a great pick. And then the next guy seems to be everybody likes Tyreque Hill. That's the next highest ranked receiver. I don't like him. I won't pick him because he breaks his kid's arm. But
He's
if
a
you
little
don't have,
speedy guy.
yeah, he's fast. He's fast, but I don't want to cheer for him, so I won't pick him at 2. I'll let someone else do that. Do you agree with that? That number 2, he's number 2, Tyreque Hill.
Yeah, he's a good wide receiver. I wouldn't stretch for him though. I would get someone better.
Who's
It
better?
depends. Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I guess it all depends on what position you're picking in.
Mhm.
But if I don't know, top 3, 4, 5 receivers, it's pretty much the same thing. Like if you picked, Diggs or even Jefferson, they probably would do the same as Hill. Maybe Hill will score 4 touchdowns in 1 quarter again, but I don't know.
That'll never happen again.
Yeah, exactly, right? So,
Yeah.
like they're kind of like, it's not like a dime a dozen. It's just really in what order you're in and your strategy is going. But yeah, he's a great receiver. Pick him if he's on the board.
Yeah, I like your suggestion of Diggs. I mean, he was just on fire last year, and I don't expect it to be any different this year. I think he's great, and he's a diva too. But I like his personality just a little better than Tyreque Hill, and that matters to me. As I've said, I've got my own dogmatic code of ethics when I'm drafting fantasy players. I want to cut down on the amount of guys who are going to get arrested. Or the other thing this year is the COVID factor, and that's pertinent to this conversation because DeAndre Hopkins is an anti-vaxxer, and he's one of the top guys that you could pick. But I don't want any anti-vaxxers on my team this year at all. I'm going to try to pick no guys who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move because the NFL will be cracking down quite a bit and putting those guys in IR, and then you have to prove what it was a week and then 2 negative tests. So there goes 1 whole week that potentially you could be out of a wide receiver. And wide receivers, I know we've had this conversation in the past. You feel that there's just so many of them. They do all pretty much the same type of great job. So really, if you're looking at going for a wide receiver 1, you could pick somebody like Terry Maclaurin or something like that. That's that's going to catch balls just as much as probably Hopkins would catch a ball and get into the end zone. There's just so many people out there that do the same type of work. So I guess, like you say, it's your ethics or like your understanding of the situation, right? But like if you go for like another top receiver, and we've talked about this about AJ Brown and Julio Jones, who's going to wear 11, but who's also catching the ball for that team?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, also that division, the one that the NFC West, I guess it is, with the Rams and the Niners. I mean, all those teams are good. Seattle. And so these receivers are going to be facing stiff competition at least half of their games in the season. And some guys don't do well when they've got a top-notch corner on them. DK Metcalf's one of those guys. He's going to go up against Jalen Ramsey. And, I had DK last year, and he put up a stinker every time he went against Patrick Peterson, who's over on Minnesota now. But all those defenses are good. I guess Richard Sherman won't be in San Francisco this year, so maybe that defense won't be as good when it comes to corners, but they do have a pass rush there. So just something to think about, how tough is the division if all these guys can produce? What's the next thing you look at? You look at health and character and then competition. That's a tough division. So any of those guys in that division, you got to think about. And then D-Hop's got 2 strikes against him because he's an anti-vaxxer and he's in the NFC West.
Mm-hmm.
But he's rated number 4 overall. So, I mean, that's not going to bother some people, but it would bother me.
I had him like 6 years ago. It did nothing.
That was a long time ago. Different team, different quarterback, different universe.
Whatever.
That was back when he had Matt Schaub throwing to him.
Yeah, same dreads though. So, but yeah, always a disappointment. But he's proved himself over the years. He's doing really well. Hopefully, they get a quarterback situation under control there. But obviously, Hopkins has Arizona's quarterback. So I was thinking when he was playing for the other team,
Texans.
But he's with Arizona now, so he's a little scurry McFeet Murray throwing him the ball.
Yeah,
not a bad guy to have as a quarterback to throw you the ball.
Yeah,
he'll produce though, and he's actually good against like triple coverage and double coverage, and quadruple coverage.
Oh, he's a great athlete. There's just things about him that bug me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to root for the guys on my team. Okay, so Calvin Ridley's the big man on campus for Atlanta this year, with Julio being gone. And I don't know how good he is as a number 1. He's ranked very high, number 6 here.
I don't know anything about Atlanta. I'm not going to weigh in on their running game. I'm not going to weigh in on their quarterback game or the receiving game. I just think it's a position, or all positions, people are going to fight for the starting job, and whoever gets the ball gets the ball. It's just pretty hard to predict on that one. So Ridley is a great receiver, but I don't know how they're going to divvy up the plays. I don't know what their coordinator is going to do. To me, it's kind of like a stay away from, like we've talked about, stay away from the Jets, stay away from Miami, stay away from Houston. Kind of almost stay away from these guys. I'm sure somebody will get some good fantasy numbers out of a production, but maybe you go on the waiver wire on week 1 to try and get those guys that you need with those 4 teams.
They've got the coordinator from the Titans as their head coach now. Mm-hmm. So if you think about the Titans offense and how it was last year, a lot of AJ Brown, so substitute Calvin Ridley in the AJ Brown role. And
but AJ Brown's like 6'4", 280 pounds, and Ridley's 5'12", and
so 6 feet.
And,
same, different kind of receiver. So probably not getting those yards after the catch.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point to think about. They're different kinds of receivers. So maybe he won't be able to get. I mean, he's a better route runner, I think, in my opinion. But will he be able to get those yards after catch? We don't know. What remains to be seen. This is all speculation until they start playing the games. We're just trying to analyze some of the rankings.
That's why there's trades. You sometimes need to draft people to trade them. Don't, so you just have them on your bench, but then you might want to trade them. So like maybe you take Riley or you don't take him, but you have somebody to trade for him. Always think about trades.
Maybe in your league. In my league, no one will trade.
Oh, right, so because it's all money down. But in my league, there are trades like you could, running back for receiver, quarterback, whatever you want to do. You could throw 3 guys down if you want to on one person. And trades do happen quite a bit in our league. I actually get quite a kick out of a couple people I play with because they would send me ridiculous trades every week. Like my wide receiver 1 for their wide receiver 4 and a running back that doesn't even like have a last name on the back of his jersey.
Yeah, well, that's why nobody trades in my league, because the only trade offers you get are ridiculous.
Yeah, it's quite comical. It's actually entertaining a little bit, and then you reject or you counter with something even more ridiculous, right? Oh. And it's just kind of like a game. I wonder how many other people have those stupid conversations, but they are funny, especially when they come in on a Tuesday midday, and you're like, oh yeah, I should change my roster. I should give you my top receiver. Here, have Woods.
Well, I mean, wouldn't there be an uproar in your league if somebody started giving away top talent for really crappy players and sort of rigging things, right?
No, but we have, I do have a clone. I actually have 2 seats in my league. No, we have a commission, so you have to agree on it. If somebody disagrees in a certain amount of time, then it'll go up for debate, but everyone sees the draft in place. It has that lockdown.
Yeah.
And then if someone doesn't like it, then they could say, no, I'm flagging this as Nellis. But it never really happens.
So you have to be unanimous in order for a trade to go through?
Yeah, or if no one comments, then it goes through.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then it. I forget what week it you can't do anymore. You can't drop anybody. So like near a certain week, you can't just dump your bench.
Well, how do you stop a guy who's in the same division as the guy who's getting the good players for a deal, and he goes, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't like this trade." Like, can he stop the trade just because he doesn't? Just because he doesn't want his buddy to have competition against him?
But it would stop. It would just postpone the trade, and then have to go through arbitration. No one has ever done it, so I don't know how it really works. It's just like you could review it, but they're all fair trades. We don't do. No one in there is going after or trying to prevent people from getting one person or another. Like they're looking at the trades and saying, yeah, that's fair, right? It's not I haven't had a discussion point. Maybe if I wasn't in a league with friends, then maybe that would probably be something that might come across. But everyone is trying to win ultimately fantasy for the prize purse, so they're not doing anything incorrect. And like I said, there's a certain time of the week. I think it could be week 10 or 9 or something like that where we freeze. You can't. The roster you have is the roster you have.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Ours is right before the playoffs. Okay. AJ Brown, love him. He's the next ranked guy. Apparently, Justin Jefferson got injured in practice today. It's not supposed to be serious, but he's got some kind of shoulder designation, and he's a Q. Would that scare you off of him in a draft situation? If you were in a draft tomorrow, would you go, maybe I'll look at the next guy, or do you just go ahead and draft him and say, hey, it's early in preseason, I'm sure he'll be fine?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Unless if it's like I decide to go through foot surgery and I'm going to be out for 8 weeks to 13 weeks, then yeah, I won't draft the guy. But it's just like could be a small injury of some sort. Like, would I go for Gallaudet, knowing that he got injured again for the 3rd year in a row? Probably not. Kind of seems like that guy has some injury problems. But Jefferson, I don't know if is he going to follow the Gallaudet way of getting injured, or is he, is this now going to be a routine? Is this going to be like something that always happens to him? I don't know, but I wouldn't count my. I would think the guy wants to compete and wants to play football for the rest of his life, not just earn a paycheck. So I would definitely pick him up.
Okay, so did I miss something? Did Gallaudet get injured? There he is. He's a
I think
Q.
so.
You're right. You're right. How bad is it? What is it?
Like the same injury he had last year for Detroit, and the same injury he went out with, like a back problem or something like that. So who knows? Maybe the guy is. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So stay away from Gallaudet. I'm just trying to look up here to see. They're optimistic about Gallaudet's leg injury, but it's a leg injury.
And then
So
they picked up like a free agent wide receiver like the day after. Like, oh shoot! So
oh wow. Okay. Stay away from Gallaudet.
yeah, exactly.
If you're drafting anytime soon.
I picked him up as a rookie. He was amazing. That was like 3 years ago. He was great. Like I was
Yeah.
cashing in on a pick, and
Right. Lions. I mean, of course you had him. Lions.
well, I was yeah. I don't know who to do this year. I think Tyrell Williams would be my like sleeper pick at a late round, like 16. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But like really, what can you lose at round 16 on who you pick up?
I don't know. Okay, Maclaurin. We talked a little bit about him. Good, solid pick. Why not? He's got
Him and Fitzpatrick.
good rapport. Yeah, good rapport with Fitzpatrick. All things are good there. And then Keenan Allen. He's the number one target. His quarterback doesn't even look at anybody else. So he's a great pick. He doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but he's a good, solid pickup. Top 10 guy. I have no problems with Keenan Allen. Nothing bad to say about him. Allen Robinson's the next guy, and what I would say about him is, who's his quarterback? He's always great. He's always targeted a lot. Trubisky threw him the ball every time. And he's a great receiver on a team with a weird coach and a strange offense and a different quarterback every year. You like Robinson?
I do. I would pick him up definitely as a top 10. I also like another guy in their team on a later part, Mooney.
Yeah, because they traded Miller out of there. So that puts Mooney's stock up, assuming that they can find someone who knows how to throw and who doesn't always throw to Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I like his potential. Maybe he's a good flyer, but I would pick up Mooney, way down at the bottom of the draft after I had my team solidified.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's definitely someone to look at as well too. So if there is a little bit of ball share happening in Chicago.
Ball share. I like that. A little bit of ball share going on.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Gives Mooney. But like Robinson, yeah, for sure. Pick him up.
Okay.
Guy has solid hands.
Okay. Who do you like next after that? Or who do you see on your rankings there?
I don't know. Like I guess a couple of Dallas people have shown up, but whatever.
Yeah, CD Lamb. A lot of talk about CD Lamb being the guy now, passing Amari Cooper as being the main guy in Dallas. And it was a big buzz around CD Lamb this year. And Dak is back, and Dak can actually throw.
Yeah,
when his shoulder isn't injured.
Yeah. So like a couple of Dallas guys, and then there's the Tampa Bay Classics.
Yeah, Evans, as long as he catches a touchdown, you're okay. Other than that, he might not get that many passes.
And Goldwood too, right? So like those two teams have
Godwin,
two solid receivers that get the ball to them at any opportunity is possible. So how you have a strategy that you've been talking about is that you pick the running back and you pick his backup. But do you pick a wide receiver and the guy who's going to catch the ball beside him? It's not the same strategy.
I had a year where I had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and they were lighting it up. This was 2 or 3 years ago. They were on fire, and then Cooper Kupp went down with an injury. And Woods was still good, But for a time, I was just on fire with those two guys, and it wasn't a bad strategy. Plus the fact that I was in an auction league and I got them both for $1. I was loving life. Because no matter who is healthy, you got a guy in there. I had that going on last year with Lockett.
It's
and
so tough. Sorry for cutting you off there.
Yeah.
It's so tough to play that strategy without an auction draft where you can't put money down to get that. Because there's no way that unless you're drafting, 11 or 12, and then 12 and 11 down the ladder, down the snake, that you could strategize that way. Would you strategize that way?
Yeah, I would. I mean, when I had DK Metcalf and Lockett last year, usually sometimes they would both have a good game, but sometimes one of them would have a spectacular game and the other guy would have nothing. But the fact that I had both of them, I still had the hot guy. So it kind of worked out. I mean, I got into the playoffs.
Well, I wonder if anybody would take on that same challenge, knowing that their money is on the line to actually do that. Because you do have the tight ends that you could possibly do that with. And what other teams would you be able to do that? Could you do that with any other team? So we're saying that Seattle, Dallas.
Cleveland.
Okay, Cleveland.
You could go Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, and you probably wouldn't have to overpay for those guys if you're auctioning. They probably might be available sort of close together in a snake and ladder. If you were picking 10, 11, 12, and the turn comes around real quick, you might be able to go bang, bang. And we know Odell gets hurt all the time. So let's say he's healthy. If he's healthy, he's a good player. So then you have two good receivers from the same team, and you're kind of guarded. You're set up to succeed. If there's an injury bug, you've got one guy or the other. I mean, they could both get hurt.
Then you have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess there's potential. Yeah. There's teams out there that you could play that strategy on what draft order that you're in, and maybe even if you're in the forbidden middle, you could still do the same strategy. But you got to know that before going in. Like, it's not like something you just got. If you don't do any type of research.
Yeah, and it's a strategy. I would do it with some teams, but not like I wouldn't do it with the Jets. Because I don't know, Jamison Crowder or Mims, I think it is. Like, I don't know either of those guys if they're any good. One of them might end up being a good player for fantasy this year, but we don't know. But we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen their quarterback play a game yet. So, that's not as exciting as having Lockett, and Metcalf, or Landry and Beckham Jr.
I think another team would be Cincinnati. You could probably try that with if you stretch for Chase as being a number 1 draft pick and then pick up Boyd.
T. Higgins. T. Higgins is going to be big. So, I mean, you could get all 3 of those guys. If you want to have 3 guys from the same team, you could get all of them cheap.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean,
Joe Burrow's throwing the football and then you have Mixon.
Yeah, it's not going to last for the season, but the thing is, guys get hurt. So if one of those guys goes down, you can trade him out, dump him, put him on IR or whatever. The other 2 guys have more value because, the third guy went down. Maybe you could start one of those guys and put the other one in a flex. One could be your number 2, one could be your flex.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy. Not saying it's for everybody. It actually takes a lot of preparation on draft day to have that in the back of your mind, considering that a lot of times people pick people up that throw you off, and then to be able to be like, I was thinking this route and now I'm going to that route. And now potentially you got to either have your course of action, oh my gosh, I need to adjust. Yeah. But how many people really plan for that third, oh my goodness? And is their second plan to go and try and do like a back-to-back running back or back-to-back receiver? And what time of the draft do you decide that? Do you decide that in the second round? Do you decide that in the third? You can't decide that in the 6th because now all the top guys are, so like it's a very aggressive and, potentially a very strategic way of looking at it. And if you're, it's beginning of March right now,
Yeah.
gives you enough time to practice, to learn.
Yeah.
But I would think, I would think it would be a tough one. Just
Well,
with like the quickness of how time counts, what the
okay.
guy beside you are doing, how they're
So
picking.
so just as an example, last year, I had DK, I had Lockett. So then I was looking at Minnesota. I knew that Thielen was still there, but he was gone. I couldn't get him. But with Diggs being gone, I figured somebody needed to fill that hole. So with my last two picks at receiver, I took Busy Johnson and Justin Jefferson. And I didn't know anything about either of those guys, but I figured they were both drafted to fill the hole that Diggs left. And 3 games into the season, I was pretty disappointed because it looked like that strategy was crap. And then we all know the end of that story. I ended up dropping Busy Johnson because Justin Jefferson emerged as this huge star. And I lucked out in a way, but it was a strategized luck out because I knew there was a hole to fill. I didn't know who was going to fill it. I got 2 guys cheap. It paid off. So I had 2 teams, 2 receivers from those 2 teams, and I ended up having, Lockett, Metcalf, and Jefferson as my wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and my flex each week.
So it could work in your favor on a really down the podium.
Yeah, it's just something to think about for people out there. But again, those are 2 good teams. It wouldn't be as fun if you were doing it with the Jets and the Texans. You're not going to win your league or get into the playoffs if you have 4 receivers and 2 of them are from each of those teams. You're done.
Want to go on to tight? Do you want to go on to tight ends now?
Yep. Okay, tight ends. So everybody agrees Kelsey's the guy. He's hurt right now. Does that bother you?
No.
Still think he's the number 1 tight end? Go ahead, draft him if you're 8 or 9 in your snake and ladder league. Go ahead.
Whoa! You mean pick him in round 1?
Well, he right now, from what I'm seeing, people are picking him in the first round. They're absolutely. They're going the first 5 or 6 running backs are coming off the board, and then Devontae Adams, and then Tyreek Hill, and then Kelsey, and then people go back to running backs after that. That's what I'm seeing over and over again with the drafts that I've been looking at. In the last, well, you and I did one today, full disclosure. We did a mock draft today. In the queue, all positions included, Travis Kelce was ranked number 4 overall. 3 running backs and then Kelce. That was in the one we were looking at today. So
I could get just as great value out of Kittle or Wallace. I think, to me, you get one of those 3 guys, so I don't know where I'm drafting yet because it won't be determined until I forget when, maybe a week before. Wow. Like, I don't know if I would invest that much interest into on a first round. Great. This guy could be the next Mecca. I don't know. Like, how many?
Kelce? Well, yeah. In my league, in my auction league, 100 virtual dollars last year, Kelce went for 23. So that's a quarter of your team's budget goes to Kelce if you're in an auction league. Yeah, that's how highly he's valued.
I get it. I've seen him in the 2-minute drill catching 3 of the 4 passes and not dropping. I get it.
Except in the Super Bowl, but yeah.
I'm just wondering. can't catch. But I'm just wondering that, like, the next 2 to 3 guys, like they're
yeah, there's one there's Kelce in the top tier, and then that tier is done. And then the next tier, according to all the experts, is Waller and Kittle, and they're tier 2.
Oh, Mark Anders.
Well, I agree with you that he's great, but he's not being considered as high as those 3 above him. he's sort of like the top next level guy, like tier 4 guy, according to, tier 3 guy, according to what people are saying. I often have Andrews. He had some COVID issues, but Baltimore is COVID central.
What people should do is go for a double tight end strategy. If you're going for Kelsey at like fourth or like sixth, taking him off the board, when you're coming back, might as well pick up a running back, and the next round third go for like Wallace or something like that, and just be sitting there with like your flex and your tight end. That's these solid, just making sure that they don't have the same bye week, and then they're like, yeah. Then your whole fantasy is just running on tight end production. And
well, there's only a couple of top tight ends. So,
but that's what I mean. And then they're blocking on the play. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's after Andrews. There's a big drop off. I mean, Kyle Pitts. I'd love to take a chance on him this year, depending on the cost.
He could be like a Gesicki, whatever his name is. He's like Gesicki. Almost like a wide receiver. Like he's not like a. But I think he's out with COVID or something like that. So I don't know about picking that guy up. I know I talked about him prior, and the last time we chatted about him catching magical passes. But
he's not listed on the injury report that I'm looking at right now. I'm not seeing that, but that's
IR COVID I saw during the mock draft that we were, because I was going to pick him, but then I decided to go for somebody else, just due to the fact that I saw it said IR COVID August 1st. So got to figure that out if he has a vaccination. If he has a vaccination or not sure where he is, but I see Pitts being a type of player like Gesicki, where he is definitely doing what he did in college, and he's actually just contributing to the wide receiver core. Not like Rob Gronkowski, which the Patriots used as a big man blocker and did really, really well. I think they won the Super Bowl. But I don't know.
The next
Zach Ertz fell so far. Like, he's not even on people's even like 3 years ago. He was like right there with Kelsey. It was like, who did I go with, Kelsey or Ertz? And Ertz is just like, I can't even catch a 16th round pick.
Yeah, they don't like him, and they don't want to give him the ball, and they don't want to pay him, and they don't want him on their team, and they can't afford him, and he's under contract, and nobody wants to pick up the contract, so it's a mess.
Okay, so what round do you pick a tight end in, or do you buy?
You want to get, if you can get one of the great ones that we talked about, and we haven't talked about your boy Hawkinson yet, but I think he's sort of in that group of top half of the league. He's pretty great. If you can get a really good one, then I wouldn't mind being the first person who picks a tight end. I'm not going to pick one in the first round, but I wouldn't mind having a tight end early and having one of the great ones. But if I miss the boat and I don't get a great one in like the third or fourth round, then I'm going to wait, because I'm going to have a crappy one no matter what. So I might as well try to get a better guy at one of those other positions if I'm not going to have a top tight end. But I'm one of those people who I always put a lot into tight end. So I'm always going for, I've never had Kelsey, but I've tried to get him. I've always have Gronk. I had Andrews the last couple of years. I like having an advantage at that spot. In my league, you can't play tight end for a flex. You can only play him as a tight end. So anyone who has a great tight end in my league has a huge advantage over everybody else.
Yeah.
In that one spot, it's just like, but it costs money, or it takes a lot of, skill and luck to get a good guy there when the rest of the league is crap.
Yeah. Tight ends you got to get the Supremos. And then after that, you can wait a little bit later, because everyone's kind of in the class of their own. Yeah. What about kickers? What are we doing with kickers this year? You want to talk about kickers?
Then that's your favorite position, I know. And
so my whole strategy with a kicker is go for a team that can't score in the red zone. So traditionally, if teams can't get it in, like you're getting a great kicker of Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like
He was their top kicker that last year. Young Wei Koo was one of the top guys last year at kicking.
Of course he was, because they couldn't get into the end zone. And this year, if you don't know who's getting the ball, running the ball, catching the kicker can get it into get 3 points.
Yep. Well, kickers are often the highest point getters in the league. Kickers and QBs,
especially if they can kick over 50.
Yeah,
45,
well, to your
46.
point, Jason Myers, I got him off waivers last year. Miami couldn't score. He can kick from 50 and beyond pretty consistently. So he was the 1 or 2 overall kicker last year. I didn't know anything about him. I just picked him up because my kicker was kicking for Green Bay. I can't even remember the guy's name. Crosby. He always gets hurt. He got hurt again. And so I
think
picked
GMs should do this strategy. Like, if you just know your offense can't get it in, just get a good kicker, and then you're getting Gus kicking mule out there, and he's just getting field goals from 80.
Yeah, but I mean, if we look at if we really take that seriously, do you want the kicker from the Houston Texans or do you want the kicker from the Chiefs?
Well, the Chiefs might get me more points.
Well, that's how you win in fantasy football.
I don't know if Houston's getting past like the 25.
Yeah, but
like they get the fair catch, the kick, and then they punt the ball.
Right. So I mean, you might want a kicker from a good offense. Might be something to think about, or at least an offense that can move the ball a little bit and then kick from 50, like you said.
Yeah, because those 50 points really do pick up. But in all fairness of it, Tucker is still probably number 1 from Baltimore. They can get into the end zone, but he also does have a really good leg. And I really liked picking up the guy from Carolina, like the monster.
That's your guy.
Yeah, Tony
Sky.
Yeah,
Is it Tony or Joey?
I don't know. Joey, Tony, Sly, whatever.
Tony Sly is this.
Joey Sly.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. I think he was. I liked him, and then I screwed myself out of getting 3rd place by starting my party man Prater last year. But Buffalo's kicker, Buffalo can get in the end zone, but they can get close to the red zone as well too. So it's also one of those things too. Is like if your team can get downfield, if you have a good kicker, then 30-yard kicks are just as good as, I guess, point afters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kickers are important too. But
a lot of people don't really use them. They usually use them as the last draft point. I actually, someone in my league didn't even draft a kicker. He just went through all production the whole way, and then he just picked up a kicker because he was just figured it's a useless position. I don't feel the same way about defense. I think defense, if you can get a top defense, it's probably good to stretch a little bit in the later round to pick them up. So, but kickers,
I think you got to know your league rules, because in our league you can't do any waiver picks after the draft until you play the first game. So if you don't draft a kicker, you won't have a kicker. So you'll be playing one less player against your opponent, which means you'll probably lose.
Oh, that's a good rule set. Then you stop that sort of, them being able to get 16 picks instead of 15 plus a kicker.
And what happens in my auction league, which is kind of funny and weird, is that guys early on, everybody's trying to hold on to their cash. So guys usually will go defense and kicker first, and they'll bid $1. And then, if that way, if you think the Rams defense is the best defense and you bid $1 on them, now we get to see if the rest of the league wants to spend $2 on a defense or even $3 to get the best defense, or if everybody just sits back and goes, whatever, I'll just pick up.
It's a smart strategy. It's a smart strategy, but defenses creep on you. So, if you think that the Rams are going to have the strongest defense, and then Indianapolis also comes in with a strong defense, and no one thinks about that, then, because Indianapolis last year had a great defense. They may not have had as many picks or, points, touchdowns, fumble recoveries, but they were still up there. I like Denver. They have a couple key players back on the line. But
Yeah.
but that's an interesting strategy for sure. You know what? You need the check mark. You get the check marks done. I need a defense. I need a kicker.
Mhm.
Do that in the beginning.
Mhm.
On my league, we don't. Most people don't even like say if there's 16 rounds or 14. They usually come off the board. If it was 14, it would be either the last round of 14, maybe even 13. And then if the defense is really good, you might see somebody who was like, they're laughing because they had like pick 1 or 2 or 3, and they're
Mhm.
picking them higher, right? Because they already have their RB 1 and 2 and wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like that kind of like, just cherry pick at that point. But then that's where you miss out on some of the sleepers.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I think the next thing for us to do is to do a mock draft and walk through that, and talk about strategies and see what other people are doing, and maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah.
I guess we could wrap this one up because we've covered all the categories, and yeah, that's it for now.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Football Game Plan.